Well, hello everybody, and thank you. Hello everybody, and thank you for attending a question and answer session. This is right after we did the How to Be a Better Health Detective and Grow Your Practice with Reed Davis and Kathleen DiChiara. So thank you very much for attending. Let's move forward with some of the questions, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. The first question we get, and we get this a lot, I answer this on the phone all the time. People sort of can't believe, hey, am I really going to get to run labs on people? You know, they're a personal trainer, a health coach, a nutritionist, and these kinds of things that, typically you're not licensed to run labs. Well, guess what? We're going to show you the labs you can run that are very, very useful in helping fix people. And all you have to do is remember that you will not be diagnosing or treating any specific condition. That would be practicing medicine. And so what we do is not, we absolutely don't diagnose or treat anything specific. We work in a non-specific manner, meaning we work on everything at the same time. When you follow a holistic lifestyle program, it fixes everything. It's just targeted because we run some lab work and we know what's really wrong with the person. So we work in this non-specific manner, restoring function, return the body to normal health and vitality. And of course it's different too because you won't be using any drugs, no prescriptions, no surgery, things like that. Again, it's a holistic behavior program guided by lab work. We depend on those behavior modifications and natural therapies that are included in our Dress for Health Success self-care system. And we went over that in the webinar a little bit. We could cover it a little bit more, I guess. But bottom line, we don't medicate, we educate, and that's an amazing thing. People really do get better. So how do I get people to pay? Well, this is a very good question. And, you're someone who might be already in business, and you find it might even be hard to get people to just pay you the gym membership or for your personal training time or for your nutritional counseling and things like that. Well, it's a whole different ball game when you're able to offer them lab testing. And you're going to really just educate them some more about getting into a self-care model. Obviously, what they're doing isn't working. So they need to get into a different kind of self-care model, different than what they've been doing. Or guess what? They will be forced in later to a disease care model. If they keep just chasing symptoms with this modality and that modality, or just keep going to doctors' visits, they're going to be in a disease care model. But that's, by the way, what we call the health care in this country today. It's really disease care and symptom management and stuff. So look, how do you get people to pay? You explain the facts, and some will and some won't. You just work with the ones who will. Primarily, if you will, then they will. So you got to do this work on yourself, and of course we require that in the course. And some people said, look, I'm already helping people, I'm doing pretty good, what's really different about that? Well, I would question that. I really question, are you meeting people's needs? Because diet's critical. You might say, well, I do diet programs. Well, you know what? We have people come to us, and they've already been on your diet program. And they're saying, look, I already eat perfectly, but I still have these health problems. So we know diet is not enough. And neither is exercise. Exercise is great. But look how many unhealthy, fit people there are. And so, we know that diet and exercise are great. And if you're doing those things, if you're meeting those needs, then you're probably making a good living. But you can really help people get to a whole new level. Remember, through the FDN system, you're going to learn to stop the cycle of trial and error. So you might be doing your diet and exercise, even some modalities, and they're probably spending a lot of money on it. But when they don't get their needs met, when you're not meeting all the client's needs in terms of what's really wrong with them, they'll go to someone else. They may stick with you for the diet part or the exercise part, but they will be shopping around. And those people they shop around to, they're going to kind of steal your client from you. So you really need to learn how to fill the needs gap, stop that cycle. And so you need to stop chasing symptoms, get your clients to pay attention, and work on the causes. And what the world needs is more health detectives, more FDN certified health detectives, because we're the ones who identify those hidden causes and underlying conditions. And the client, what they need to do is to learn to build health and adopt this program instead of just hopping around from person to person. We'll teach you all of that. So what kind of problems can I help people with? just about everything, because remember, you're not going to diagnose and treat anything specifically, but people will come to you with previous diagnosis. And when you work on underlying causes, using the holistic behavior, guided by the lab work, they do get better. So it really doesn't matter what they have. Here's just a short list of things, but name something else, and why wouldn't you want to improve all the systems that we improve and see what shakes out? And invariably, you're going to make improvements. And I've seen diagnosed conditions completely disappear. So you can help people with just about any problem. You can specialize too if you want. Just remember this. When I started this 15 years ago, I was a case manager at a wellness center. I wanted to stop the cycle of trial and error. I was sick and tired of the people walking in the office saying, I've already been to 5 people. And by the way, they'd spent a ton of money. So that's why I ran thousands of tests, worked out a system so that you don't have to go back and make all those mistakes and all that trial and error that I did. So another question we get sometimes is, I already run lab tests, or, I have access to someone who runs lab tests. Well, just about anyone today can run a lab test. You can even go online. But most people are doing it based on symptoms, and then they're treating the paper, the test results. And I don't know if I mentioned this in the webinar, but, I do clinical advisory for a lab. In other words, this lab has me talk to doctors who are using that lab. And I help them put together protocols. And a lot of times they call me up with that same old question. Hey, I got a client with this, and this. What lab should I run? And because I don't know which lab is going to uncover the hidden problem, I'll name 2 or 3 labs and go, which one are you going to leave out? Well, you're going to need, if you really want to help people, you got to have a system. They may not run them all at the same time, but they're going to go through this system, or you're just going to be treating the paper. So just because you can all run lab tests, there's sort of a right and way to do it and sort of a way to abuse it. The real question is, are you ending the cycle or just creating another one? Because as I'm sure I said in the webinar, people are going to the practitioner who does run labs, and they've got complaints. Now this list of complaints here: brain fog and tingling in the hands and swelling, feeling blue, sad, low energy, fatigue. That all looks like a thyroid problem. So that physician might go ahead and diagnose thyroid. And then just to be sure and to cover himself, standard of care and stuff, he has to run a thyroid test, does a blood test, and yep, you pat yourself on the back, found your problem, it's low thyroid output. And then they'll write a prescription to bring test results in range. Remember, this is what I call treating the paper. They're bringing the test results into range, but they may not be working on the underlying cause or condition. And so they'll even monitor test results and titrate accordingly. So, oh, look, it's low. Here's your prescription. Take this much. You come back, we're going to retest it. And if the retest looks good now, they're satisfied. Hey, we got your results in range. Your paper looks good. Regardless of how the person might be feeling. Now, if their test results are now too high, they back off on the medication. If they're still low, they can increase the medication and titrate to get those results in range. The person might even feel better for a little while. But guess what? I absolutely guarantee you that if the underlying cause isn't dealt with, in other words, the reason why the thyroid isn't working very well, then it's going to come back. And sometimes with the real vengeance. Or you'll get new symptoms. And so you've really just created a new cycle of trial and error. Oh, try this test and treat the paper. Oh yeah, I felt better for a little while, but now I have this. And so run another test based on symptoms and treat that paper. And so that's why we see people have been to 5 docs or practitioners, and they've run test after test, but they really haven't used a system to get to the root cause. They're still it's just a different cycle of trial and error. Try this test, that kind of thing. So that's really important, why just because you can run labs doesn't mean you are going to help people in the long run. Now, another question that I got was, they love the program, but I already treat gut and adrenals and other things. They've treated those before and had some success. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's some success. If you want to really increase your success rates, if you want to really have a lot of happy customers and stop that cycle of trial and error, you have to understand that you can't just treat the gut. you got to look at the things that contribute to gut dysfunction. You can't just treat the adrenals. Matter of fact, that's one of the most useless things you could do. People run the adrenal panel, and then they're like, oh, look, here, we're going to support the adrenals. We're going to give you little hormones. We're going to take some licorice root, for that low cortisol. Or if cortisol's high, you can bring it down with some phosphatidylserine. So you're basically back to, treating the test results. Or, you might even just guess that's their problem, give them some supplements. And if you aren't dealing with all these underlying contributors to the adrenal dysfunction or the gut dysfunction or whatever it is. So this slide we did go over in the webinar, so maybe you can watch the repeat on that. Because just to emphasize the fact, symptoms are not the problem, they're the result of the problem. These are the problems. You look down here, look, symptoms are on the top of the picture. The problem is really the underlying part of this iceberg, in that analogy. It's the chronic stress-related dysfunctions, with the arrow pointing to all the things that we find on the lab tests that we actually can then work on. You can apply therapies there, natural behavior, the DRESS, diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplementation. So this is how you really get a system in place to work on the underlying causes. And okay, great question here. What other practitioners can I work with? What we're finding is that an awful lot of people who do sort of psychological counseling or family therapy and these things, they're finding kids that are misbehaving, and they go, I've been working with the mental emotional aspects of this person, their fear, their anxiety, their relationship, teaching them how to handle, life better, how to perceive things in a little more positive light and that kind of stuff. So those are great practitioners to work with, because they can refer you people that might have the things you're going to be looking at, the food sensitivities, the underlying stressors, all the dysfunctions of digestion. So someone might have these problems here, but the cause is dietary or whatever it might be that we find. So those are fantastic practitioners. Matter of fact, we're getting a lot of licensed family counselors to take the FDN course so they can add that layer to their work. But they're neat people to know. Now, obviously, we did cover in the webinar this kind of stress. There's a lot of physical biomechanical stress, which depending on the kind of, let's say, personal trainer, massage, and things that you do, you may be able to help people with some of these things. Personally, I refer this stuff out. So if someone needs, remember, it's all about the needs. If someone needs a chiro or acupuncturist, I send them there. If they have nerve compression, that's not really a nutritional program. That's a musculoskeletal problem. And so if they've got these, really weak, poor posture, obviously our exercise program, helps with that. But I might just refer. And so therefore, those are good people to work with too. And they'll be looking to you. So if they're if you're going to use them for those things, and we go back up, so you can refer your clients out for this kind of work. You can refer your clients out for this kind of work, and they'll return the favor and refer you these kind of people. That's the kind of relationships you want. Never, never, never go into a chiropractor's office and say, "Hey, you got anyone I can work on for nutrition?" So don't do that. Go to the chiropractor and say, "Hey, I've got 5 clients that need to get their neck checked out. I want to make sure that they don't have some hidden underlying musculoskeletal issue. Can you just give them an exam?" And they'll be happy to give your clients probably a free exam, depending on the type of chiropractic office it is. And so that's how you work with people. I am a master of those kind of relationships and can help you a lot. And that's what I do mostly with the graduates of our program, is help them build their businesses. So you'll be working on all this stuff. That's why they need the FDN detective. And, in addition to that, even medical doctors are starting to recognize FDN practitioners as one of the systems that actually helps. They're reticent. They're very hesitant to recommend anybody to their patients. So they're seeing their patients, and the patients are, maybe they write them a prescription to get them out of the woods. Here's some antibiotics and some painkillers or some anti-inflammatories or, what have you. This will get you out of the woods. This will get you feeling better. But Mrs. Smith, you really need to go join a gym and eat better. But they're very reticent to recommend any particular person or anything like that, because there's so much junk out there. And it's not what they do.
So they're kind of lost. You know, they might just be shrugging their shoulders. Well, we're getting doctors to realize how cool our program is, that it actually does create new behaviors that would be very constructive, very helpful. So the doctor's there to fill those needs, to manage any true medical condition, you know, make sure things don't get worse in some state the person might be in. But you're there to actually build the health. And when they hear that their patient, your client, is doing better and maybe needs less medicine, well, that's a good thing. Everybody should appreciate that. So I want to remind you that it's the step-by-step process that matters. You know, it's one, you got to do functional interpretations, seek the healing opportunities. You know, this is what being a health detective is all about. You identify those malfunctions. These are the 7 critical areas that you need to look at and be trained to look at. And I will train you to be able to look at these areas: the hormones, the immune system, digestion, detoxification, energy production, and the nervous systems. It sounds like a lot, but the course is going to take you 6 months. That's another question. It's going to take you 6 months or 8 months. We've had people do it in 4. But it depends how hard you want to work and what else you have going on. But when you learn this hidden stressors and dysfunction system of assessment, you're going to be way ahead of the game in terms of knowing what's wrong with that person. And of course, all your protocols will be drugless behavior requirements: diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, supplements. Now, I've been working for 15 years on this and have figured these things out, the things that people need to do. And it's so successful, as I probably said in the webinar. It's a really amazing thing, and we've had to trademark it, so only my certified FDNs can use that dress for health success. And as I said in the last slide, if they do have a medical condition, it provides an amazing holistic grounding program, which answers another question. Earlier it was like, hey, I'm not a doctor, can I do it? You're not going to be doctoring them. You let the doctor doctor them. Look at what might kill them and stop that. Remember, doctors are going to get them back in the ballpark. Well, you're the ballpark. You're where they play. You're the one with the grounding program that maybe they don't have to go back and see that guy, or they have to see him less, and then everybody's happy. So the third step, okay, so I'm going to back up just a sec. First one is do your assessments, which includes some intake forms. The second one is customizing a dress program for each person. We're not going to treat the test results. We're going to look at the test results in relationship to each person. That's called clinical correlation. You have to correlate the results with each person, and they will go, wow, I can't believe you figured it out. And then, of course, you have a coaching process. You can do 3, 6, 9, 12-month periods. You can pile sort of sequence 3-month periods. And we'll teach you how to do that. So that way you actually get them to change their behavior. We're very responsible to them, making and keeping appointments and things, and they're very responsible to us, or we tell them we can't work with them anymore. And so that's the basic 3 steps. The other thing you need is obviously to be in a community. We have over 1,500 FDNs in 50 countries, and lots of support groups and things going on. The mentorship, this is a real common question: what kind of mentorship will I get? The most amazing mentorship that you can imagine. These people are dedicated and well-intentioned. They want you to be a successful practitioner. These are graduates of my course who I've handpicked to be your guides on and how to actually implement this on yourself and on your clients. So you'll get, you're going to walk the talk. You're going to run labs on yourself. They're going to give you they're going to be your FDN practitioner to some extent anyway. Some people take this course, they're not doing so bad, but you'll get plenty of time on your own case, your own test results, your own protocol, showing you how to develop those, your own customized dress program. That alone is worth the price of admission. But then you're also going to do some practical exercises. We have you turn around and teach us. It's based on the old idea of, see one, do one, teach one. That's even how doctors learn to do surgery. They watch the surgery, they do the surgery, then they teach someone else to do the surgery, and that's how you really get it down. We're not doing surgery, but you know what I'm saying. So doing these practical exercises, therefore, is really critical. So you practice in a safe place. They give you friendly, safe feedback, on here's where you could tune it up, and here's a couple things that you might have left out that you want to make sure, and you walk that client through their test results step by step. In other words, you're going to understand it, you're going to see it in the lessons, you're going to do it on yourself, and then you're going to turn around and actually do it on 2 real clients that you bring to us. Or, they're your clients, but we'll walk you through your first 2 clients. You can do all that in 6 months. It's an amazing thing. Lots of mentorship. There's plenty of other support, but this is a question we get: can I get CEUs for the FDN course? I don't want you taking it just for the CEUs. I want you taking the FDN course because you want to use this stuff. So you can. The National Certification Commission on Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine recognizes us nationally for relicensing credits for acupuncturists. And there's other places, the Chek Institute, the National Association of Nutrition Professionals. At least one state recognizes us for chiropractic units, the Holistic MBA program, and a few others. But again, I don't focus on this because I want you taking it so you can use it. How much can you make? Amazing question. Obviously, it's all up to you. But I'll teach you my model. So I would teach you the model where I was making $100,000 a year, doing about 10 hours a week of consultation, and about 30 hours a week managing my business. So I did all the sort of business management stuff and just billed out about 10 hours a week. And I didn't bill it by the hour, but that's how much consultation time I was doing for about $100,000 a year. And if you think about it, when you actually fill the needs gap, when your client actually gets better, when you stop the cycle of trial and error, it's only going to take you 1 client to pay for this course. The average client spends $3,000 to $5,000 over a period of a year or so, and you'll be saving them thousands of dollars in the meantime. So I think that you can make a very good living. Most people don't care about this. They come to me because they want me to teach them how to get people better. Might be for themselves and their family. Might just be for their few clients that they have. They just want to learn. But for those of you who are transitioning from another profession and you're concerned about raising kids, I got kids in college, so I know exactly where you're at. And yes, you can make very good money. Bottom line right now, we're just going to wrap this up by saying there's 5 things you need to start or grow a practice. Most of you just want to grow your existing practice. You really have to get people better. Our analysis system, assessment system, and protocols work, and those protocols will be unique to you. We even have trademarks to protect our protocols, so that you're going to be doing something that works and having something that no one else has, or very few other people in your gym or whatever have. So the credibility based on the community, we're growing. We're in 50 countries. We're getting recognition from some of these organizations that give relicensing credits and things like that. That's all growing. And probably the most important thing is you always have somewhere to go for assistance with resistant cases, your mentors, and then post-grad, there's plenty of support. We have support groups, the labs support. I'm even on one of the labs support teams, so there's plenty of that. So those are the 5 things. It's those 4 plus just that idea of filling the needs gap. And you do want to check yourself a little bit, make sure you qualify. We've been through this already. As a matter of fact, this is our question for you. You willing to be a model for what you're selling and invest in yourself? That's basically it. I already know you want to help people, or you wouldn't be back at a Q&A session.
All right, so here we are at the end, and I want to give you Kathleen's special offer again. Kathleen asked me to give you guys a discount for attending the webinar or watching the replay. I want to thank you and give you $500 off of the certification course price. Now, Kathleen, as you've noticed, wasn't able to make it today for the Q&A session, so we would like to get it out to you right away. But I get asked all the time, about the price of the course. It's a lot less than some other courses, and I'm telling you, it's twice the course of some of those, which are twice the price. So it's an amazing value. I've been told I've been giving it away, and with the $500 off, you're going to get the lowest you will ever see it if you take advantage of this offer. Now I'm going to add in some bonuses here that have very, very high value. The FDN mentoring I could easily charge separately. The mentorship program is just amazing. The amount of time you spend with a safe and friendly person to make sure you're doing everything right and walking you through, holding your hand, working with your own personal test results, your own protocols, and things like that. And they're there to make sure you pass and get through and are qualified at the end. There are exams and things like that, but we'll make sure you're qualified to actually do this work. So if you want to help other people, we have the course, which I teach, and the mentoring program, which is included today. Business development, you'll learn from me on some special events and appointments. And then I'm going to include my stress and hormones lecture, which is something you can go out and deliver right away to get new clients. So, everyone, this is our home base is stress and hormones. And you'll become an absolute authority on how to help people who are under stress and hormones. And this is a lecture that you can go out and give. And it's an amazing thing to go out there and talk to a small group and get half of them to sign up to be your client. So anytime you want, you can go grab 4 or 5 or more new clients. And that means just getting together with just a few people. So I give you a whole package. That alone is worth a lot as well. But the total value is well over $6,000. We're gonna have you pay, if you buy within the time period, only $34.95. You're gonna save $2,500, and payment plans are available if you can't make the one payment. Now, this is all you got to do. Go to fdntraining.com, click on register now. If you want the discount and all the bonuses, use the code. You'll go to the website, you'll hit register now. It'll ask you what payment plan do you want. You pick the one payment of $39.95 and proceed from there with the registration of the student. And they'll ask you questions: who's the student, you, name, address, and all that stuff. And then it'll ask you for the credit card information last. So when you go to put in the credit card information, if you've chosen the one payment plan, then you can put in this code RHODE 500 and click apply, and it'll apply it to the total and take it off, and the balance will be $34.95. So if you want to take advantage of the discount, use the coupon, and you'll get FDN for the best price ever, and you can do that through January 31st. That gives you some time here to gather your resources and make a commitment to this. If you need to talk to me for some reason, call me at 858-842-3266. So it's been a real pleasure to provide you the answer to a few of your questions. And I hope that you will jump in with both feet, because we're ready for you. We're going to help you to help others at an amazing level when you jump into this. Thanks much.